I was a newly sworn guardian, my chest filled with pride and my eyes still shining with the promise to protect the Lume, the oath still warm on my tongue. Silmouth rose majestic in those days, a high plateau nestled between the Howling Hills and the Thala Range, its white walls scarred by time and ancient wars, reflecting the sun like a beacon of hope beneath a cloudless sky. The city already stretched beyond its walls, as is natural for any prosperous city, reaching toward the banks of the Silver. Its halls echoed with gentle chants that danced between stone columns, and the air carried the scent of old scrolls, the faint bitterness of incense burning in hidden altars, and the fresh breath of the river flowing nearby. It was in that setting that Lysara arrived, a girl of 15 winters, radiant as the rising sun, her flowing brown hair catching the light like strands of gleaming copper. The joy among the guardians of the Lume was palpable. We laughed, we sang, and the halls brimmed with life, for nearly 50 years had passed without a new herald of Era, 2 generations lost in darkness, and there she was, Era's chosen, young enough to begin her training. Her green eyes, like liquid emeralds, reflected the harmony she carried, and her laughter echoed like a sweet lament among the stones. It was impossible not to be enchanted. She was wonderful in every way, a soul that lit up hearts with her kindness and melodies.
Auren paused, his gaze lost in the dunes as if he were seeing the past. His chest tightened, and a melancholic smile curved his lips, a moist shimmer dancing in his brown eyes.
She quickly won everyone's hearts, including mine.
He confessed, his voice trembling slightly, as if the wind itself carried his emotions.
We spent our days together, training in the courtyards of Silmouth, the sound of strings echoing between the stones as we learned the first laments, sweat dripping from our brows under the burning sun as we practiced verses and performances. In the afternoons, we'd sit by the banks of the Silver, the river singing beneath her bare feet, the cold water licking her ankles while she studied the stories of Era, her hands tracing symbols in the white sand. At night, in torchlit halls flickering with golden shadows, she would lead the chants, her voice standing out like a soloist among the others, and I would lose myself in the beauty of her presence, naively planning an impossible future while I watched her. It was a time of lightness, of learning, but also of silent admiration. But Lysara's curiosity, that spark innate to brilliant minds, changed everything. In those golden afternoons, I began to notice a growing restlessness, and I knew the lightness of those days would not last forever.
Auren went on, his voice now laden with a somber weight.
She began to explore the deepest archives, remnants of races that had lived there long before us, where the smell of mold and secrets hung like a dense mist, and the walls devoured light like specters of forgotten faces. She uncovered hidden scrolls, crumbling with age, written in a forgotten language that only the elders of the order still had some faint command over. That didn't stop her. Lysara brought them to her mentor, Sithra, whose wisdom was both feared and revered. Together, they relearned and interpreted the texts, 2 pairs of emerald gazes shining with fascination over the rediscovered knowledge. Among them, she found dark prophecies in half-destroyed scrolls, foretelling the fading of the Lume, the rise of hidden lords, Elera's harp, and some kind of shadow dome. Lysara realized that these scrolls revealed the true prophetic history of Auren, a narrative that had been distorted, concealed by corrupted guardians. These heralds, now elders, schemed in the shadows, eliminating dissenters to protect their sinister plans, fearing their secrets would be exposed. The upheaval came swiftly and violently. On a tense night, while chants echoed like a funeral dirge, Lysara was confronted in the courtyards of Silmouth. Voices rose in sharp accusations. Blades flashed in the torchlight. Chaos threatened to consume the sanctuary. I was by her side. I grabbed her trembling hand, and together we fled, under the protection of Sithra, the former herald of Era, considered the wisest of the elders, her green eyes burning with fury and resolve, along with a few heralds still faithful to the true teachings, who refused to bow to corruption. Our escape led us through the Thala Range, west of Silmouth, where the winds howled between frozen peaks and the air cut like knives, carrying snowflakes mingled with the blood of the fallen. We lost nearly half of our number in that crossing, soul-bound friends and companions of song, in a desperate battle. I remember Juris with his wide smile, holding a loose rock on the edge of a cliff, shouting for us to run as the enemies closed in. The mountain collapsed beneath his feet. An avalanche of stone and dust swallowed him along with several of them. Auren, with her broken guitar in hand, sang until her final breath. Her voice, still resonating even as ice and stone fell, controlled the avalanche that nearly consumed us. Torv drove his flute into the ground, creating waves of tremors to halt a horde, and Gina, whose laughter still echoes in my mind, fell from the cliff with 2 assassins in her grasp, defying fate itself. The sound of their voices was lost in the thunder of the rocks, but their sacrifice gave us time, and to this day, their memory still inspires me.
A single tear traced down Thalrin's face.
We reunited with Sithra and a small group of fugitives, hidden in a damp cave where the air was heavy with the scent of moss and fear. Sithra, her hands trembling but her voice steady, traced symbols of smoke in the air with beautiful and sincere notes, as she formally passed on the harp of Elera to her successor, Lysara. The harp, a sacred relic, was said in legend to have been used to forge the first notes of Elera, the eternal singer, herself, whose melodies shaped Auren and the primordials. But the harp had been stolen from the traitorous Heralds, and it became the heart of a relentless pursuit. They knew that losing that instrument meant losing the power to silence Era forever, and their shadows hunted us like ravenous wolves. Days dragged on like shadows, an odyssey of hiding in damp caves where dripping water marked the passage of time, and clashes under torrential rains that washed the blood from battlefields. We stumbled along slippery trails, the sound of pursuers echoing through the mountains, until, utterly exhausted, we reached Zarenth. There, we found a safe haven maintained by an old contact of Sithra, a figure shrouded in mystery, whose scent of moss and damp earth lingered in the air, though I shall not yet reveal their face in full. He took on the task of escorting Lysara across Lake Eller, the hope of escape shining in her exhausted green eyes, while the harp pulsed in her hands like a living heart. I, Sithra, and the few surviving pure heralds remained in Zarenth, swearing to Lysara that we would guard the passage with our lives. We built barricades of stone and timber, the sound of hammering echoing through the night, ready to protect Era's legacy beneath a sky heavy with broken promises and stars that seemed to weep.